Hey guys, back again with some more Fuji Camera Rambling, and today I'm having Henry McKenna 10-year bottled and bond single barrel whiskey. Now this one, if you can find it, goes for about $50 here in Michigan, but it is hard to come by. They won a bunch of awards about 4 or 5 years ago, and ever since then it went from a $35 bottom shelfer to allocate it pretty much overnight. Does get some bad rep on the whiskey forums because they say it's basically overrated. Um, Probably because they've gotten some bad barrels or maybe not as good barrels. I've had pretty good luck. I do like it, and for 50 bucks, I think it's worth it. It's what I'm having tonight. I recommend it, guys. If you see it in the store and you want to try it, I'd pick it up. So, what are we talking about tonight? We're talking about base ISO. So, if you guys probably know the XH2S, the new camera that's out with Fujifilm, it's got a 26 megapixel stacked sensor that has a base ISO of 160. And I believe the base ISO of 160 has pretty much been the standard for Fujifilm ever since the X-T3. I think my X-T2 is a base ISO of 200. Then they lowered it a little bit when they went to the backside illuminated BSI sensor with the X-T3. Now, we didn't really see much improvement on image quality or low light ability on that sensor. So maybe it was a trade-off between, they went with the BSI backsided and then they lowered the ISO. So the theory is you gain a little bit on the bottom end and you gain a little bit on the top end, and it kind of crossed itself out. I don't know. The rumor has it just lower, going from 160 to something lower. My guess would be an ISO of 100. That's what a lot of the other camera manufacturers have, is a base ISO of 100. And my understanding, the sounds of summer. My understanding from reading a few different articles, and I probably have this messed up, guys. Please set me straight in the comments. So don't take this as gospel. This is just what I've read, my interpretation of how base ISO works. I still don't fully understand it, but it's kind of like that no free lunch. So theoretically, if you lowered that base ISO to 100, that means at that lower ISO settings, you're going to resolve better. You're going to have lower signal to noise, or signal to noise ratio. So just like turning up an amplifier, at the higher end, you're going to have more noise. At the lower end, less noise. So if you have a lower base ISO, if you're out doing landscape photography, running at that native base ISO, it should resolve even better. So that means phenomenal pictures probably at that base ISO. You're going to have a 40 megapixel sensor with a lower native or base ISO. It should be very clear images. Now, the other part of that, when I said no free lunch, here's what I don't know, and correct me if I'm wrong. I think it may take away from some of the ISO, or what we might gain as far as the low light. Kind of like what they did with the X-T3. You get a backside illuminated sensor and you lowered the base ISO, so we don't really have any better low light. And I think that's what Fuji needs, is that lower light capability. And higher megapixel sensors tend to resolve better, more pixels, and they're cleaner at the higher ISO. So by lowering this, it might be a wash. It might be higher resolution towards the bottom of the ISO settings. If it's a base ISO 100, shooting at 100 would even be, more perfect, right? But what does it look like if you're creeping up over 1600? Because I don't know about you guys, when I shoot in low light, I don't like to go over 3200 is kind of the max. I'll do 3200. Hell, I'll do 6400 if I have to. But 1600 and below, I really like what I get out of the Fujifilm. I would love an extra stop of light. And with the 40 megapixel sensor, I was really hoping that maybe we get a half a stop or so. But lowering this base ISO, native ISO, is that going to offset it? That's what worries me a little bit. And these are just rumors. Nobody has any cameras. I just found it really interesting, guys, and I'd love to hear what you think. So do you think the base ISO is going to hurt or basically offset the possible low light capability gains that we might get out of this new sensor? Love to hear what you think, guys, and cheers.